Have you ever had one of those evenings where you can't quite settle, and you find yourself searching for a story that might soothe your heart or spark your imagination? Where are you watching from? Whether you're cozy at home or finding a quiet moment in a busy cafe, settle in, you won't want to miss this powerful story. And get ready for a tale that weaves together raw vulnerability, quiet resilience, and the profound impact that a single conversation can have. Welcome to Motivation for Success, the channel designed to uplift you with stories of hope, transformation, and courage. If you haven't already, please subscribe to our channel so you won't miss any upcoming stories that might just change the way you see your world. Hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and get comfortable. Now, let's journey together into a narrative spotlighting none other than the gracious and iconic actor, Keanu Reeves, and discover how a late-night talk show appearance unexpectedly resonated with millions. Under the evening sky of a city known for its shimmering towers and bright billboards, lights glow like miniature constellations. People rush in every direction, some heading home, others seeking nightlife adventure. Tucked in the heart of this bustling metropolis stands a large television studio complex. If you crane your neck, you can see a neon sign illuminating the building's facade with bold letters spelling out, Nocturnal Echo. This late-night talk show is famous for its riveting interviews, unpredictable moments, and a host who's never afraid to prod her guests into revealing their most intimate truths. Viewers tune in expecting something more than the usual celebrity chit-chat, something raw, real, and, at times, disarmingly candid. Tonight's broadcast, however, promises to be something special. Sitting quietly backstage is the acclaimed, somewhat mysterious figure known for defying the usual demands of stardom with unwavering kindness, Keanu Reeves. The host of Nocturnal Echo is a figure who sparks both admiration and anxiety in her guests. Her name is Avery Morgan, a seasoned interviewer with a reputation for incisive questions. Over the years, she has conversed with best-selling authors, Grammy-winning musicians, political figures caught in scandal, and Hollywood stars from every tier. Avery's style blends charm with sharp interrogation, an approach that has uncovered countless untold stories. Despite her gracious smile, she's become known for cornering her guests with a subtle ferocity that often makes them squirm in their seats. Tonight, Avery is more intrigued than usual. In her dressing room, she paces around, glancing at a folder full of notes and potential questions. Her production team has compiled every bit of public information on Keanu Reeves, his philanthropic gestures, his stoic approach to interviews, and, of course, the tragedies that have touched his life. Still, something about him remains intangible. "I've interviewed 1,000 celebrities," Avery mutters, flipping through pages that detail accounts of Keanu's rumored acts of kindness. "They've all had skeletons in their closets, some big, some small. Is it possible he truly has none?" Her producer, Colleen Ramos, leans against a vanity table cluttered with makeup and cue cards. "People adore him," she remarks. "I don't think that's just hype. Maybe he really is as kind as everyone says." Avery arches an eyebrow, set on uncovering some hidden vulnerability, something that will make her interview with Keanu Reeves stand out in late-night history. "We'll see," she says, tapping her pen against the table. "One way or another, we'll see." Meanwhile, in a modest dressing room down the hall, Keanu Reeves sits alone. No large entourage, no frantic energy. The room's fluorescent light reflects off a simple mirror. There are no extravagant bouquets, just a small tray bearing bottles of water, a pot of green tea, and some fresh fruit. Despite his superstar status, Keanu has always chosen simplicity over spectacle. He takes a sip of tea and closes his eyes, centering himself. He's aware that Avery Morgan can be a rigorous interviewer, but he doesn't seem disturbed by the prospect. His longtime assistant and close friend, Brian Steele, enters with a clipboard in hand. "They're giving us the 5-minute heads up," he says quietly. "Avery's known for digging into personal wounds. I just wanted to remind you, if something feels too invasive, you don't have to answer." Keanu gives a gentle smile. "It's fine, Brian. I don't fear the truth. Brian nods, unable to hide a slight grin. Over the years, he's witnessed Keanu offer seats to strangers on a crowded bus, chat kindly with fans who approach him after a film shoot, and donate time and money to causes without any media attention. The man's grounded nature seems unshakable. Just remember, Brian adds, they might try to spin your words. That's the industry these days. They can spin away, Keanu replies, setting down his teacup with a soft clink. I'll still be me. In the main studio, the house band strikes up a lively tune, and the show's distinctive logo appears on a huge overhead screen. Rows of audience members fill the seats, eagerly anticipating the start. Under the glow of countless stage lights, Avery Morgan steps into view, microphone in hand, exuding the same self-assured poise that has become her signature. A roar of applause breaks out, and Avery beams. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Nocturnal Echo, where we peel back the layers of the stories you thought you knew. Tonight, we have a guest who's considered Hollywood's ultimate nice guy, a man many have dubbed an anomaly in show business. Some say he might just be too good to be true. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming the incomparable Keanu Reeves. Thunderous clapping erupts as Keanu steps into the spotlight. Dressed in a simple black suit and open-collar shirt, he exudes an understated elegance. He waves politely to the enthusiastic crowd, then shakes Avery's hand, offering her a warm but reserved smile. "Thank you for having me," he says into the mic, his voice steady. "I'm delighted you could make it," Avery responds, gesturing for him to take a seat on one of the plush chairs set center stage. The tension in the air is electric, though you'd never sense any nerves from Keanu's tranquil demeanor. Avery crosses one leg over the other, note cards perched on her lap. She's known for starting with disarming compliments before steering into deeper waters. "Keanu, you've been in the public eye for decades, starring in countless iconic films. People say you're an ageless enigma, someone who either never gets old or maybe has found some real-life fountain of youth. What's your secret?" The audience laughs as Keanu shrugs, a modest grin touching his lips. "I think it's just good genes and luck," he replies. "But mostly, I'm grateful to keep doing what I love." Avery leans forward, her polished nails tapping lightly against the arm of her chair. "You've also built a reputation for being extremely generous. Countless stories paint you as a man who'd give away part of his paycheck to crew members, or quietly pay for someone's hospital bill, or even buy breakfast for fans who happen to cross your path at a diner. Does this nice guy image ever feel like a burden?" Keanu's gaze drifts momentarily to the crowd, where he spots someone wearing a t-shirt bearing his face in a classic movie still. He smiles at the sight. "There's no burden in kindness," he says simply. "I don't see it as a strategy or a performance. I just think we're all connected. When I can help, I do." The genuineness in his tone causes a wave of nods through the audience. Avery is quick to pick up on the effect. She decides to press on. But in an industry that thrives on competition, is that kind of consistent empathy actually sustainable? Don't you ever get tired of being the nicest person in Hollywood? A flicker of amusement softens Keanu's features. "I get tired, sure," he concedes. "Not from kindness, though, maybe from long flights, or the hours on set. But showing compassion doesn't wear me down. Honestly, it keeps me going." Sensing the crowd's admiration growing, Avery decides to pivot to a more sensitive topic. She knows well that genuine engagement often emerges when discussing personal pain. "In your life, you've faced some deep losses," she begins, carefully. "In interviews, you've mentioned losing very close loved ones. How do you find the strength to keep moving forward when grief threatens to consume everything?" A hush falls over the studio. It's a question that demands more than a surface-level answer. Keanu's posture shifts slightly, as though acknowledging the gravity of the subject. "Grief never leaves entirely," he replies, voice subdued but resolute. "It changes form. The people we lose remain with us in memory. And those memories can guide us to live more fully. Part of keeping their spirit alive is continuing to embrace life, to give, to love, and to create. Even Avery seems momentarily disarmed by his openness. She's used to guarded replies or rehearsed statements. Here is a man speaking from a place so honest it silences her usual follow-up questions. The camera pans to the audience. A few people discreetly wipe tears from their eyes. There's a feeling in the air that something profound has just been shared. During the commercial break, the production team can barely contain their excitement. They hustle around, checking that cameras are in focus, audio levels remain crisp, and that social media feeds are lighting up with real-time reactions. Sure enough, tweets and posts gush about how Keanu Reeves' words have touched them. Listening to Keanu speak about loss is so comforting, it's like he's giving me permission to remember my late father without guilt. Is this the first time Avery Morgan has been speechless? That's the power of sincerity. I'm crying at midnight, and I don't regret it. I needed this kind of interview in my life. Back in her seat, Avery scans through the early online responses that her staff hands her on a tablet. She's built a career on orchestrating sensational headlines, but something about these heartfelt reactions to a quiet moment of real emotion makes her reflect. Perhaps it isn't always about cornering someone into a scandalous reveal. Maybe, once in a while, letting genuine kindness speak for itself can be just as compelling, if not more so. When the show goes off the air for a short pause, a stagehand ushers Keanu to a small backstage area, offering him a glass of water. Brian Steele hovers nearby, ready to field any requests. "You doing okay?" Brian asks. "It felt a little tense out there." Keanu nods, taking a grateful sip. "I'm all right." Avery's direct, but I'm fine with it. She's just doing her job. Brian glances around, noticing the staff's quiet admiration. Typically, backstage areas are chaotic, with interns hurrying to prep the next segment. Tonight, there's a subdued excitement as producers and technicians exchange hushed words about how different this interview feels. "Word is, the audience is eating it up," Brian mentions. "They love your honesty." Keanu offers a small smile, then shifts his gaze to the stage entrance. He sees Avery re-emerging to resume her position beneath the lights, counting down to when they'll live again. "Time to wrap this up," he murmurs. When the cameras return, Avery addresses the audience and the viewers at home. "Welcome back to Nocturnal Echo. We've been talking with Keanu Reeves about his life, his approach to kindness, and the losses that have shaped him." She gives a brief pause, letting the weight of the previous segment linger. "Keanu," she continues, "you've accomplished so much, starring in films that have defined generations, taking part in philanthropic work, and always surprising people with your humility. But I want to know, what keeps you inspired to keep going in an industry that often chews people up and spits them out?" Leaning forward, Keanu threads his fingers together. "I love stories," he says simply. "I love the magic of film, how it can transport us, make us think, or remind us of our shared humanity. Every project I take on is a chance to connect with people in some way. And I think that's true for any art, it's about forging human connections." Avery nods. "What about those who say this kind of empathy doesn't lead to success? That, in show business, it's every person for themselves." Keanu lets a soft chuckle escape. "There's room for different approaches. Sure, there are people who succeed by stepping on others. But there are also those who succeed because they lift others up. And I think success built on empathy can last longer in a person's heart. If I look back on my life when I'm old, I want to feel at peace with the way I treated people." If there's one thing Avery Morgan prides herself on, it's her ability to read people. Looking at Keanu now, she recognizes a sincerity that she cannot pick apart. Her usual approach, unearthing secrets or exposing a harsh truth, seems irrelevant here. As the interview continues, Avery shifts to a more intimate tone. "You know," she says, glancing momentarily at the cards in her lap, I've found that many in my audience aren't just fans of celebrity culture, they're people looking for reassurance and hope. They want to see that behind all the glitz, there's a soul that struggles and triumphs like they do. Perhaps that's why you resonate with them so deeply. Keanu looks around the studio, briefly taking in the faces of audience members who've come to see him. We all have our stories, he says. Whether you're in front of a camera or watching from home, life happens, joys and losses, hopes and disappointments. We can't avoid them, but we can choose how we respond. A respectful hush lingers as Avery processes his words. She glances at the clock indicating how much time they have left in the segment. Instead of rushing to a shock value question, she decides to conclude with gratitude. Thank you for sharing these insights. It isn't often that we get to talk about love, grief, and compassion on a platform like this. Keanu offers a polite nod. I'm grateful to be here. Avery turns toward the camera. That's all the time we have for tonight, folks, she announces, her usual confident air tinged with genuine warmth. I hope our conversation with Keanu Reeves has given you something to think about, a reminder that kindness isn't weakness, and that even in the most public spheres, there are people who choose empathy over arrogance. Thank you so much, Keanu, for being here. A standing ovation spreads through the audience. Keanu stands, bowing his head in humble acknowledgement before stepping aside. The house band begins its closing number, and the camera pans to Avery one last time as she bids everyone goodnight. The next morning, highlights from the interview flood social media, accompanied by heartfelt messages from viewers around the world. People discuss how they stayed up to watch Nocturnal Echo and found themselves unexpectedly moved. Those who've experienced losses of their own share how Keanu's perspective eased a bit of their sadness. Others, fascinated by the idea that someone in Hollywood might genuinely be that kind, post stories of times they witnessed or experienced generosity firsthand, maybe from a neighbor, a coworker, or even a stranger at a grocery store. One trending hashtag emerges, #ChooseKindness, inspired by a moment in the interview where Keanu said, "I just think we're all connected." People tweet about small acts of compassion they plan to implement in their daily routines. From paying for someone else's coffee to checking in on a friend who's been quiet lately, these little gestures add up, forming a widespread wave of empathy. Meanwhile, in the sleek offices of Nocturnal Echo, Avery Morgan sits at her desk, a large window behind her revealing the cityscape. She's scrolling through messages, reading story after story from viewers who were touched by the conversation. Some are from fans who've long admired Keanu Reeves, others come from individuals who had never watched the show before but tuned in out of curiosity. One post reads, "I usually can't stand talk shows. They're so fake. But last night's episode felt different, like I was seeing two humans talk about life in a way that made me want to be a better person." Another says, "I never thought a celebrity interview would help me process my own grief, but Keanu made me feel understood." Avery sets her phone down and stares out the window for a while. She's been hosting Nocturnal Echo for years. She's prided herself on unveiling the secrets celebrities keep. Yet, this time, she found something more powerful than any scandal, an interview that offered genuine comfort. For the first time, she wonders if her approach to hosting could expand, maybe focusing on depth and empathy rather than sensational revelations might actually resonate more with audiences and, just as importantly, with her own sense of purpose. Within a few days, Avery receives an envelope with no return address. Inside, a handwritten letter reads, "Ms. Morgan. Thank you for your conversation with Keanu Reeves. My husband passed away from a sudden illness last year. Ever since, our son and I have struggled to talk about his father." Keanu's words about remembering lost loved ones brought us to tears. "Somehow, it made us feel that honoring my husband's memory means continuing to live with hope, not guilt or regret. Please don't stop having real conversations like this, you never know who might need them. Gratefully. A healing family." Reading this, Avery feels a lump form in her throat. She's done countless interviews, some controversial, some humorous, and some that exposed high-profile secrets, but never has she received so many personal stories of how a single conversation changed people's perspectives on life, loss, and kindness. It isn't only the viewers who are transformed. The staff and crew at Nocturnal Echo notice a change in how Avery conducts herself in post-show meetings. Instead of merely analyzing ratings and trending topics, she begins discussing what emotional takeaway each interview might offer. She brainstorms with her producers about how to bring more meaningful narratives to the show, real journeys of perseverance or empathy that will linger in people's minds long after the broadcast ends. Colleen Ramos, her trusted producer, can't hide her approval. "It's almost like you found another dimension to your interviewing skills," she teases gently. "We're still going to tackle tough questions, right?" Avery laughs, a surprisingly light-hearted sound. "Of course," she replies, "I'm not going to lose the edge completely. But maybe there's more to journalism than making people squirm. Maybe sometimes, it's about providing a space for authenticity. Let's see where this leads us." Keanu Reeves, for his part, goes on living much as he always has, quietly, humbly, and on occasion, continuing to surprise fans with spontaneous acts of kindness. One day, he might be spotted at a small bookstore, chatting with employees and buying copies of local authors' works. Another day, he might show up at a charity event unannounced, simply to offer support. He never brags about these gestures, in fact, he rarely even posts on social media. But word spreads, as it always does, and people find themselves inspired by his consistent, unwavering generosity. In interviews following his appearance on Nocturnal Echo, reporters ask him about that particular conversation with Avery Morgan. "It was refreshing," Keanu says with a soft grin. "I appreciated the chance to talk about more than just my films or tabloid gossip. We touched on real-life stuff, grief, hope, kindness. That's what interests me." Colleen Ramos often revisits the footage from that night, analyzing the flow of the conversation for any future editorial lessons. But each time she watches Keanu speak, she ends up forgetting her professional objective. Instead, she's moved by his candor and warmth. She's not alone. The camera operators, the makeup artists, even the security team all remember how, after the show, Keanu took the time to thank each of them personally. He asked about their families, their weekend plans, their aspirations. "It felt," one camera operator later remarked, "like he treated us as equals. No pretense, no hurry." This anecdote circulates among the staff, becoming something of a legend, one more story in a growing tapestry that reaffirms Keanu's unusual status in the celebrity world. Nocturnal Echo continues to thrive, but its tone evolves. Avery Morgan embraces a more balanced hosting style, still incisive and forthright, but with a clear eagerness to explore genuine human experiences. Over the next few weeks, she interviews a musician who uses her platform to promote mental health awareness, a scientist who overcame personal challenges to achieve breakthroughs in medical research, and a high-profile athlete who speaks candidly about battling anxiety. Each interview, while maintaining Avery's hallmark depth, also provides space for compassion. Viewers notice the shift, and many express appreciation. "I've been a fan of Nocturnal Echo for a while, but this new approach has me hooked. I'm walking away with more than gossip, I'm learning about resilience and hope. Loved seeing Avery show real empathy. That's the kind of late night I didn't know I needed." Inside the studio, the ratings stay strong. The critics who once called the show exploitative acknowledge that Avery's style has taken on new dimensions. They write about her evolution as an interviewer, crediting Keanu Reeves for sparking this transformation. Late one evening, Avery finds herself alone in her dressing room after finishing another successful episode. The overhead lights reflect in the mirror, and she catches her own expression, pensive yet calm. She recalls her original intention with Keanu's interview, to dig, to find a flaw, to highlight something sensational about an actor believed to be a modern-day saint. Instead, She discovered an unguarded sincerity that disarmed her, and, in a way, guided her toward a deeper understanding of what an interview could be. She whispers to herself, "He said we're all connected." Maybe that's the key. It isn't about celebrity worship or uncritical flattery. It's about recognizing the threads of humanity that tie us together. When someone like Keanu uses his platform to speak openly about compassion and grief, it gives viewers permission to acknowledge their own battles. It normalizes sorrow, perseverance, and kindness, all fundamental parts of being alive. Smiling wryly, Avery stands and gathers her belongings. As she turns off the lights, she decides that her next set of interview questions, for whomever sits in that guest chair, will aim to capture moments of truth rather than create friction. Ultimately, the story of Keanu Reeves on Nocturnal Echo is more than a single interview. It's a reminder that, in a world saturated with negativity and scandal, people yearn for the affirmation that kindness is not an act of weakness, but rather a powerful choice. By being his authentic self, Keanu inadvertently challenges a system that thrives on drama, proving that the simplest, sincerest gestures can spark conversations that resonate beyond one television broadcast. So, what does this all mean for you, the listener, the viewer, or the reader of this story? Perhaps it's a nudge to revisit moments in your life where you could have responded with empathy but didn't. Or maybe it's an invitation to see your own struggles in a new light, guided by the understanding that we share more common ground than we realize. And maybe it's a prompt to remember that even a single act of kindness, holding a door for a stranger, speaking gently to a friend in need, or offering a genuine smile, can ripple outward in unexpected ways. Thank you for joining us on this journey here at Motivation for Success. If this story moved you, inspired you, or made you reflect on your own life, please take a moment to subscribe to our channel and share your thoughts in the comments section. We're building a community of people who believe in the transformative power of hope, empathy, and determination. What did you learn from this story? Did it spark any personal memories or motivate you to reach out to someone? Let's keep the conversation going. Together, we can choose kindness, lift each other up, and remember that our shared humanity is what truly makes us strong. Until next time, stay focused on the small acts that can make a big difference, and never forget that the ones we've lost, the dreams we carry, and the kindness we extend all weave together into the tapestry of our lives. Keep believing in your own capacity to make the world a more compassionate place. We'll see you in the next story, right here on Motivation for Success.